Good Wednesday afternoon, everyone. It's BJ here on your screen, so let's talk. Today, we're going to continue my discussions about my travels. I've been thinking about how to work out these discussions because it's going to probably take several more episodes to get through my travels. And I was going to go in chronological order. However, I've decided that may not be the best thing to do. So for today, I'm going to jump forward to 2014, 10 years ago. I was working for an international medical device company based here in the United States. And in 2014, or either late 2013, they acquired a German medical device company and made that a part of our larger company. In the process of acquiring that and familiarizing ourselves with our new German colleagues, there were some cultural differences in the ways that we do business, in the ways that we work, in the ways that we communicate. So in order to sort of smooth out those differences, the higher ups came up with the idea for an employee exchange, sort of like a student exchange. And the concept was that they would send employees from the German office to the US for 1 month and employees from the US office to Germany. What they did is they asked for employees who were interested in this to write an essay and tell about why they thought they would be a good fit to represent their office, their home office in the other country, and why they would be a good ambassador for the company. I wrote my essay, and I was one of the first 2 employees in the US chosen to go to the German office and represent the United States office. So I arrived in, I believe, mid-June 2014. It was summertime, and in central Germany, where I was located, it was not quite as warm as what I would be accustomed to. This particular town was located in a valley, and they actually grew wine grapes there. So it was a bit cooler than it would have been on the northeast part of the US, but the weather was still overall very nice. I was there for about 5 weeks total, and I had 5 weekends. So what I did was during the day, Monday through Friday, I would go into the German office and work, and I got to spend time with my German colleagues, observe their work styles, become familiar with them. And it was all very interesting because the office was located outside of town in a smaller town, which is more of a farming town. And there were fields around. So at lunchtime, the colleagues, we would all go down and have lunch in the employee cafeteria. And then we would go to walk around the field. So we had an hour lunch. We'd spend about 30 minutes eating, and then we'd spend about 20 minutes or 25 minutes walking through the farm fields around the area. And the company had received permission from the farmers for us to walk on the perimeters or even through parts of their fields. It was great. It meant that you had your lunch, and then you got to exercise and burn off some of the calories before you even went back into the office. Fantastic. I'd never seen anything quite like that in the US at that time, at least not with the companies I had worked for. The other exciting part was I got to know some of my German colleagues, really cool people. They were super serious when it came time to do work. So for the 8 hours they were working, they were super serious, very focused. But when that bell rang, the literal or figurative bell rang to end the workday, they livened up. They wanted to meet at the local pub and have a beer and just relax. And, they were totally different people after work than they were during work. Very interesting. I learned a lot during that time. What was really exciting for me as well was every weekend I decided that I would travel to a different place. So one weekend I went to London. Now at this time, over 10 years ago, you could go into other countries by plane in Europe for under $100. So I found a company, I think it was called Ryanair. They don't have the best reputation in Europe. They're kind of known as the discount airline, like some of the ones we have here in the States. But for short trips, they work. So I found a ticket, I got the flight, And for the very first time, I went to London, England. I arrived Friday evening after work and I stayed through Sunday evening. I explored the town. I took the tour bus, the hop on, hop off tour bus, and got to go and see a lot of the historic sites. And I had made some friends online, so I got to spend Sunday afternoon with them. They were having an event, so I attended the event, had a great time with them, then came back to the hotel, checked out, went to the airport, and flew back to Germany. Fantastic. And then on some of the other weekends, I did other things. One weekend, I took the high-speed bullet train from the town I was in, because the train came right through the town I was in, even though it was a small town. And I took the train to Berlin. One of my friends from London was staying over in Berlin, visiting friends of his. So I took the train down to Berlin Friday evening after work, and I spent the weekend hanging out with them. That was so much fun. It was my first time in Berlin as well. Another weekend, I took the bus and I went to Nuremberg, and I spent time in Nuremberg. And that bus ride was amazing because it took me all through these little towns and villages and hamlets in Germany, and it was so picturesque. I got to see beautiful old German architecture, as well as we went through tunnels that were carved through the mountains. Fantastic. It was an absolute thrill to do that trip as well. And then one day I was talking to a colleague there in the German office, and he said, "Hey, have you ever been on the German Autobahn?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." And for those of you who don't know, the Autobahn is an expressway or highway they have that runs through Germany, and there's no speed limit. You can do whatever speed you want as long as you're driving safely. And we went on the Autobahn in his car. He didn't have a fancy car, but man, he was booking it. Now, the miles are in kilometers, and I don't really know exactly how to translate kilometers to miles per hour, but all I can tell you is how I felt. I felt like my head was like back against the headrest, and we were flying down the highway. It was absolutely amazing. So that was cool. Then, let's see, another time I went to, I can't think right now, but anyway, the point is that was my first big trip out of the country. I can tell you that the food in Germany is amazing. I didn't expect that the bread would be so good, but it makes sense because they grow their own grains right there in the valley where I was staying. And there was also a small vineyard there, so they had great wines, and there were bars there that had all kinds of beers and lagers and just fantastic things to do and drink. Hold on one second. So it was just absolutely fantastic when I had the chance to do all those fun things in that trip. So I strongly encourage you guys. I think when I took that business trip, I was already 35 years old, and that was my first time to Europe. So I encourage any of you who are younger to get out there and travel as much as you can. You can go online and make package tours on some of these travel sites. And if you're young, you can stay in hostels, in places where you share a room, or you get a small room that's your own, but you may have to share a bathroom. And that may not be ideal for mature adults, but if you're young, you're college age, early 20s, and you just want to get out there and see the world in an affordable way, I highly encourage you to do that. Don't hold yourself back. What I've really learned, one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my travels is a different way of how to see my own country and different ways to view other countries, right? We often think so highly of our own country and so little of other countries. But when you begin to travel, you get to see that there are some really great things in other countries too, and that your country is not the only good country in the world. That other countries are doing fantastic things, they're living great lives, and they have many of the things that you have here, or if not more. The things they have in Germany that we don't have here are the high-speed bullet trains. We don't have that here. We may never have it here because they keep saying that the expense to build these kinds of trains will be in the billions, right? The Europeans and the Asians built these trains 10, 20 years ago when the costs were not so high, and now they're full and well established in their countries, so they don't have to worry about that. Also, I learned things about politics in other countries that allow people to have multiple parties. In Germany, they have so many parties. I think they have dozens of political parties, so that no one or two parties dominate the political landscape. This is amazing. Like I said in episode 1, this means that more of the population, more of the citizenry, is represented in their local and national government. So, I want to thank you all for listening to my stories. Germany was a blast. The month I spent there was fantastic. The time I spent there, I will always remember. Oh, and one thing I do when I travel is when I come home, I have a photo book made. There are different companies you can find online. I'm not going to say any names because I'm not being paid yet. But there are different companies you can go to, and they'll take your digital photos and you can make a hard copy book. So often when I take trips and when I return home, I have one of those books made to remember that trip. It's just a fun way to remember where you went and the times that you had. Yes, I have Dropbox and I have thousands of pictures on Google Photos, but there's something about having that little book in your hand and flipping through the pages that's really cool. And also, if I have company over, it's a great way to share with them some of my experiences without having to open the laptop or the phone or the tablet. Anyway, I didn't tell you what I was wearing today. So today I'm wearing a Supreme shirt which features Martin Luther King and the American civil rights activist. And I'm wearing a Supreme hat that came out, I think, earlier this year. And it has the Supreme S logo, and it had a cross pin on it. I don't know why, but I thought that was cool because I am Christian. So hey, it all worked out. Anyway, thanks for joining me today. I hope you liked this chat that we had today about some of my travels. Next time I'll be talking more about international travels that I did for work all over Europe, Asia, Australia, South America, and South Africa. So I'll be back on Wednesday. Today is Wednesday. I'll be back on Friday with the next episode. So until then, have a great week. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you have any ideas for things that you'd like me to chat about, leave it in the comments and I'll look into discussing it. Thanks again. Have a great day. Peace.